BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello and welcome to episode 563 of BRB UK. And it is a special episode. It is yet another early episode because 1, we have no Dan. And 2, we have the man called Rick. And we also have Tim.
I should probably say I'm putting my thumb up for audio listeners, shouldn't I?
Yes. The reason for such disarray in this week's episode of you getting an early episode and a shake-up of hosts, that would be because we have been to EGX over the Excel Centre in Londinian town, where a fun time was had by all, sometimes because of video games, sometimes because of the friends we made along the way. And today, we're going to talk about some of those games, not so much the friends. But, gentlemen, before we start, we'll start with you, Tim. How did you find this year's EGX over at the Excel?
It was okay, I think, is the overall sort of takeaway from it. I didn't think it was massively impressive in terms of size. It does seem to be a bit sparser than it was last year, and last year was a bit sparser than it was before, the pre-lockdown shows kind of thing, in comparison to the pre-lockdown shows. There was a fair bit there, but it felt like it still had a bit missing. And I spoke to a couple of other people that said that the atmosphere at WASD was comparatively nicer, even though it was on a slightly smaller scale. It feels like WASD's on the way up and EGX is waning a little bit. I'm hopeful that both can actually grow in future years, but with the absence of major platform holders being namely Xbox and PlayStation, and with a little slightly lackluster appearance from Nintendo because they only had the one game they were showing there. I don't know if it's just unlucky this year that, we're in a year where PlayStation aren't really doing many events. Xbox don't have too much to show off apart from Game Pass games. And Nintendo are, in future years, presumably going to be ramping up for the release of the next Switch. And it just feels like it was all in a bit of a holding pattern this year, basically.
And same question to you, Rick. How did you find this year's EGX? And you haven't been for a while, have you?
No, I've not been since I was caught. So I didn't do the Birmingham ones. I didn't do last year. So to go from Earl's Court to this was, it felt barren. So I'm not going to mince words like Tim. It just felt barren. Like Thursday, opening day, obviously, there wasn't a lot of people, and that's fine because it means that we didn't have to queue for a lot of the stuff. But there just wasn't that much there at all. Like the fact that Sega had probably the best showing says a lot about what wasn't there.
Great Scott, it's the 90s.
Yeah, right. And as nice as, well, you say like, oh, you wish Nintendo would have had more things there. The fact that they only had one game but had like the same amount of space as Sega on the floor, that was really good for just getting in. Like when we tried it on the Thursday, me and Coleman, we managed to get in without queuing up. And then on the Friday when you were there and we played that, just 10 minutes maybe, which was one of the quicker games to get into considering how long some of the other queues were.
And then on the Saturday, the stupidest, longest queue for getting into play Mario.
So, like, less people, beneficial in that regard. But just the fact that there really wasn't that much on offer was kind of disappointing. And back then, going to EGX, you'd always, like, run into friends, see people that reconnect with people you've not seen for a while. And, like, for me, there was none of that at all. It was just odd. So, yeah, it just felt off.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. It especially felt kind of depressing on the Thursday because, as you said, I mean, I've been going every year for quite some time now, and I think their second one in Earl's Court was when I started going, and it's been a case of the show was getting bigger and moving to Birmingham, and then as soon as PlayStation pulled out, as soon as Microsoft, because originally Microsoft started like dwindling on what they were bringing to the shows until they just finally pulled out. It's now started going the other way. And then after lockdown, we had last year's EGX, which we found quite sparse. It was a bit like this one, lots of very open open space on the floor, a lot more so than this time, I think. But it did feel like there was more stuff to see. Like they had things like standees and things still around. Like there was a Formula One car out there. There was, a lot more VR stuff to be checking out that, granted, long queues for, but more experiences that I hadn't seen before. Even more stalls. That's one of the biggest things I thought was odd this year. I'm not big on to going to the merch stands in general, but usually when you go, there's a variety of stuff you can look at, and there's a lot of the same people that go every year. And this year, it just felt like all the stands were Funko Pops and trading cards.
And like Artist Sally was like 3 people.
4 tables, yeah. And I think one of those was like enamel pins, and the others were posters of copyrighted material.
Also,
interesting.
One thing that I thought was a bit weird was that I don't know if you know, but I read subsequently that TikTok has taken over as one of the major sponsors. Hence, one of the biggest stands there was
that was
TikTok.
huge.
Yes,
and just a kind of insider. I was there as press. You guys bought your own tickets, kind of thing, but they seem to be mainly catering towards creators, which is fine. That's kind of what TikTok do. That makes sense. But it meant there was a major space on the floor that wasn't really for the entertainment of the ticket buying public, which was a bit weird. They did have they were showing off the Pico headset, which is owned by the same parent company as TikTok. Hence the reason they were sort of all part of the same stand. But other than that, there wasn't really much of that stand that was kind of available to the public, which felt a bit weird considering it was taking up quite a large portion of floor space right in the center of the show.
I mean, even since we've come to Excel pre-lockdown, there was still the big event stage, whether that be a Destiny expansion, Marvel's Avengers. Like there's always something, and they always make a big point of this is the big game, or this is the big thing to see this time. And it's been like that for a long time. In a lot of cases, lots of big things to see, be that Titanfall and Wolfenstein on the same show, that kind of stuff. Whereas this time, it seemed if you weren't there for Mario and you weren't there for Sega,
well, the fact that
Sega seemed to be the headline, but it didn't look like the big headline kind of stage like they've done before.
But the fact that Square Enix are electing to bring Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to MCM over and above taking it to EGX, that kind of speaks volumes about where they think this show is in comparison to MCM. Okay, MCM has a much larger footfall, but also I think they're going to reach a bigger audience that might not already be well aware of the game type of thing. So I think it gives them more value to kind of add to that show. But it's a bit telling that they didn't see the value in bringing it to gamers now, basically. I don't know if there was an availability problem with that or if there's other factors at play, but it does seem a bit weird, basically.
It's odd, especially when you consider it wasn't that long ago. We were at EGX and covering Final Fantasy VII Remake and doing a show on that and having it on our front cover to sort of celebrate that we got to play this game early.
Yeah.
And, all that. And now this time it's a lot. And I get it. It's a consumer show. It's a lot of stuff that's either just, we played Sonic. Sonic's out on the day this podcast comes out on Monday. So there's a lot of that. You're expected to see a lot of stuff that's just about to come out or coming out or was already out. Sorry.
The thing that surprised me that wasn't there was Lords of the Fallen. That would have been a great game to have there, because no one knows if it's a sequel or a reboot. It's the reboot of a game that didn't do great when it came out. So you want to put as many eyes on that as possible and put it in as many hands as possible to show that it's worth playing. Wasn't there? It's out, so you could have had a good demo of it, and it would have been it's just little things like that. And the fact that Capcom, there's nothing there apart from in the esports bit with Street Fighter.
I guess they've got no big game coming up though, really, at the moment, Capcom.
But they've just released the DLC for Resident Evil, so take Resident Evil 4 and put that in more hands.
Show that off. Maybe have the VR version of that as well. That would have been a good VR thing to show off as well.
Yeah.
But like you say, Lords of the Fallen being there, I'm surprised that Assassin's Creed Mirage wasn't being shown off, because Ubisoft have always had a reasonably big presence, or often had a reasonably big presence at EGX. And they had Prince of Persia, but I thought it was weird that they weren't pushing Assassin's Creed Mirage as it's just come out, basically, you know?
Yeah, we've had years where like Bethesda have been there and brought multiple games and done big competitions and stuff. We've been there when Warner Brothers Interactive have been there and made a big presence. And again, Ubisoft usually have like 2 or 3 games to show off and lots of kind of theming around it and stuff. And this time they just had a plain rope section with Prince of Persia. And apparently less theming than they had at WASD as well. So it was very odd.
Look odd.
Yeah, it was 8 monitors. That was it. Just 8 TVs.
Yeah, it's a shame because again, it's kind of a shell of its former self now, and especially when you've been there on the Thursday and you can kind of me and Rick managed to get like the majority of the stuff we wanted to play done in a day, and then I went but I bought a super pass. I'm meant to be here 4 days. There's less stuff to see, and I paid the same price as I used to pay for lots and lots of cool, exciting games and experiences and stuff, and it's a bit of a shame. So yes, on the plus side, we're all going to WASD next year. We're all in force going to WASD and possibly EGX after that. But let's talk about some games that we played. Yeah. Let's get a bit of an uptick on, and I'll let you pick one first, Tim. You can pick the game you want to talk about off the list of games.
I mean, you guys did get to see a bit more than me because you made it round all the Sega stuff on day one, and then the queues for that were a bit more unreasonable, and we spent more time doing other stuff. But I think I'll kick off with one of the games that I found most interesting, and one of the games I discovered that I didn't know going in, and that was The Spirit of the Samurai.
Okay.
This was in a kind of alpha form, and I think from speaking to them that the voice acting was placeholder, which is good news because the voice acting was the thing that really let it down because it was terrible.
Text to speech.
Yeah, literally just someone reading it. But yeah, like it's a really kind of cinematically styled 2D stop motion animation style 2D slash 'em up. I mentioned 2D twice in my description. It's very 2D. But yeah, no, it was interesting. It reminded me of Trek to Yomi, but if Trek to Yomi's combat actually worked properly. It's actually good. And that felt really kind of visceral. It was kind of unforgiving, and in a similar manner to Trek to Yomi, you had to be facing the right direction when you attacked. And you had to be worrying about the direction you were being attacked from. And you kind of had to approach it in a very defensive, counter-attacking manner. But I quite liked that, and I quite liked the way it worked. I quite liked the animation. The only thing, as I said, the voice acting let it down a bit. Also, stairs were unnecessarily fiddly for some reason. Like negotiating stairs was quite difficult and quite fiddly. You kind of had to press diagonally down or diagonally up, but it didn't really hint at the fact that was the case. So it was a bit weird. But yeah, generally, I liked the combat. I liked the art style. I thought it was an interesting game. And yeah, there's something going on with the story where the samurai that you're playing seems to have been killed and resurrected or something along those lines. But yeah, just I think it's definitely one to look out for. It's not coming out till next year, and I believe it's published by Quali Games. But yeah, like that's definitely one to keep an eye on, I think, basically.
Yeah, I had a quick go on it. Well, sorry, quick go. I had a go on one of the demos. There's 2 demos available. One where you're playing as samurai versus zombies, and the other one where you're kind of doing a stealth, playing as a cat, trying to avoid being eaten by a gigantic spider monster. And that looked all great. I like that. Again, placeholder voice text to speech voice thing was not great. Stairs were a pain in the ass. It controlled like when they try to make Mortal Kombat into a platformer, but kept it in the same engine as the fighters. And also, I felt like combat still needs a little bit of work to it, because though it's tighter than Trek to Yomi, there was a lot of run, roll, slash, and then you've worked it out. You're pretty unstoppable. And then work out how to use arrows as archers start coming up. And that was about the extent. But from what I'm seeing in the trailer, there's harder bosses as you go on.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's going to be more nuance to what I was doing in
Enemies
the
with
demo.
shields that were harder to sort of approach, and
Oh, and I just kept hitting them until the shields were gone. Rick, do you want to pick the next game?
Yeah. I'm going to talk about Bow, Path of the Teal Lotus,
Ooh.
which is a super cute looking Metroidvania style. It reminds me of Hollow Knight visually, but it has a cute little Japanese fox. Like, it's very Japanese aesthetic. It's about yokai and stuff, so like ghosts and spirits and that. And it plays really well. It's not as Hollow Knight-ish as I thought it was. I thought it was going to be just very much run in slash. But it's not. It's a bit more thoughtful. So the demo just did a really good job of teaching you the controls. It did a really good job of sort of showing you what's coming up. It gives you access to your main weapon and a new weapon, which you get after the boss, which was fun. And I look at it, it's absolutely adorable. It's one of the best looking games that I've seen there, just from the fact it's like a hand-drawn kind of painterly visual.
Yes.
It controls so tight, which is just what you want for a game like this. Like, one of the things that was so good about Hollow Knight was just how good it controlled, and this is like that. There's a really cool mechanic when you use your staff, which is your primary weapon, you bounce. So you can bounce off of enemies. Like, you jump on an enemy, hit it, and you can see it like jumping around the screen in the video. Isn't good for audio listeners, but you do a lot of like bouncing off of things, and you can sort of chain your hits. Against the boss in the demo, I managed to kind of pin it into the corner and bounce off it for a while. I played through the demo like 1.5 times because the person in front of me first time left without finishing the boss. So I just jumped on, had to figure out the controls, and was like, it's good. And I managed to do the boss, but it wasn't great. And then I got another go on it from the actual beginning with everything explained. And yeah, it's fantastic. Like, I really cannot wait for that.
Yeah, I like the look of it. Unfortunately, there was a few indie games that had constant either queues or people that they didn't have time demos, so you could be thinking, oh, this person's quite close to the end of the demo, I will wait behind them and play that, and they're still there 45 minutes later because no one's kicking them off. So there was a fair bit of that poor crowd control when it came to waiting for a game. So unfortunately, that was the ones I didn't get to play, and I think I did actually wait 45 minutes to play Blood, which was right next to it. Speaking of which, Blood. Let's talk about that. So this one's interesting in that it's gone for a kind of Saturday cartoon aesthetic, especially kind of modern day Saturday cartoons where lots of distorted faces, kind of not Adventure Time. What's that other one with the boy with the jewel in his stomach that people go nuts for? One of those things.
I've got no idea.
You're not speaking my language there, Coleman.
Yeah, I am not too down with
it.
The
It looks kind of Cartoon Network-ish. It looks like Dexter's Lab.
Modern Cartoon Network. Yeah. And you play as a young girl who on her first day of school, kind of you're on your way to school and you've got various different missions that are picking up along the way, and it's all going to explore the history behind her family, the secret behind her family, which I'm guessing means they're going to be either vampires or vampire hunters, because you seem to be fighting a lot of monsters. It's got that kind of Zelda aesthetic where we're same kind of old school Zelda viewpoint, but with the cartoony style and lots of humor and stuff. I liked that part of the game mechanic kind of follows around that South Park Stick of Truth thing where you're going around taking selfies with people. I like that because it's it gives you the feeling of playing as a young girl with a phone. But yeah, the humor's there. It's called #Blood, BLUD. And I think that's out sometime next year. I don't think it's got a full date yet, but that's one to look out for, I think. And it seems to be going down very well, which is unfortunate when they only had one demo unit to show people. All right, let's do one that we all played. I think we should jump into the headline. Should we go for Mario Brothers Wonder?
Yeah. Let's get it out the way.
Okay, so yes, Super Mario Brothers Wonder. This is ahead of the November release date, I think. Oh, no, it's 20th of October. This is coming out. It's the similar kind of style to the new Super Mario Brothers, where it's new 3D. Everything's super polished off and shiny and stuff. However, they've been mixing things up. They've kind of changed the world how you might not recognize it. For instance, when we were playing and I was running along, I ran into the side of a pipe and lingered a split second too long and realized, there's a push animation. And then I started pushing the pipe across the ground. We had a moment where one of the warp pipes was crawling on the floor like a worm, and you could use it to kind of get to higher levels and stuff. And of course, there's some voice acting in there. There's plants that talk to you along the way, as you might have seen in the trailers. They have different reactions to how you do things. And then there's cool power-ups like becoming an elephant, which is something that I quite enjoyed. And you two didn't get to do because you picked Yoshi, who doesn't get to transform into things.
Well, I got
thanks
to
for
be an
telling me
elephant
that
on
Yoshi
Thursday.
can't be an elephant. I don't understand
I
why
didn't
Yoshi
know
can't
that.
be an elephant. I
It's
didn't
not
know
me.
that
I can't
It's
tell you
him.
something.
He didn't know.
If I can't tell you something if I don't know it, Tim.
Well, that we found out. But hey,
Yeah.
Sorry, that could be an elephant. No.
Yes. Yeah, that was kind of cool. So this is 4-player, up to 4-player, and you have all your favorite kind of Mario characters and the ones that were introduced in new Super Mario as well. That stupid rabbit character that's meant to be like the super easy one. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was very cute and colorful. It's kind of it's unfortunately going up against Sonic, which I'm sure this will do better than Sonic, even though I think Sonic's got the more addicting gameplay to it out of the two, with Sonic Superstars, which should be out the same day this
and
podcast
even
comes
though
out.
you've been a long-term Sonic fanboy, I have to agree
Yes.
with you from what I've seen of the games and the way you've spoken about them. I didn't actually get to play Sonic because you guys played all the Sega stuff on the Thursday, but
Yeah.
I thought Mario was fine. Okay. I mean, my enjoyment was probably hampered by not being able to turn into an elephant. I guess that's a sentence I didn't think I'd ever get to say. But at the same time, yeah, I thought it was okay.
I'm glad you said that because I too thought it was fine. It's
Yeah.
Mario, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've played it before 100 times, and I'm not the biggest Mario fan at all because they never really changed. They're like this. It's the safest franchise as far as it's a 2D Mario, you know what you're going to get. And the thing that I didn't like is it's the same issue that I have with a lot of these multiplayer games is whoever's the leader controls the pace.
Yeah.
And if whoever's in charge just wants to tear ass to the end of the level, then I
There's
guess we'll
nothing
just
you
run
can do
it.
about it, basically. Yeah.
You know, I guess, and you fall off screen and then you're a ghost and then you have to try and catch up and get
Yeah.
resuscitated. And it's like, I personally prefer Sonic as well. I prefer Sonic's level design because it's quite, it's vertical and horizontal. There's a lot of exploration up, but you can do a lot of exploration down that you can do in Sonic. Mario is very much just left to right. And when you've got someone controlling the pace, I mean, we didn't get to play Sonic multiplayer, so I could turn on that as of Monday. Could be like, oh no, I don't like this either. But playing this multiplayer, it wasn't fun. And I know that it's at a demo booth and we were trying to see as much of it as we could before the time ran out. So maybe playing it without a time limit would be different. But yeah, I didn't dig it. It's a well-made game. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's a very well-made game. It's definitely a Nintendo game. It's just not one that's for me.
Yeah, I'm possibly not the best person to judge just because I've never particularly liked Mario games generally anyway. But especially in this format, I felt like the players that weren't keeping up with the pace of whoever was leading the way felt very much like a third wheel. Like just felt like I was along for the ride kind of thing. I didn't really feel like I was properly playing the game, basically.
Well, I really enjoyed it, probably because I think apart from one level, I was the party leader, so I didn't have any issues.
Basically, Chris ruined it for us.
Yeah, immediately when I wasn't the party leader, I think it was you, Rick. I immediately kept getting knocked off screen, so I saw how frustrating that could be. But
You tasted
when
your own
it was just me
medicine, and
Rick,
it was bitter.
yeah. When it was just me and Rick playing on the Thursday, we were sort of taking our time with it. But then when we saw where the demo cuts out, when we then played with Tim, we decided to go for a speed run and try get as many of the levels done as possible. We ran out of levels. That's how pro MLG we are.
Oh yeah, we're hardcore UK
elite
gamers.
Oh yes, games done badly but quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I like all the aesthetics. I like all the little accoutrements that go with it. I like when you go down, when you jump up a pipe and then Mario's little legs are kicking out the bottom of the pipe, or when you're an elephant,
Yeah,
and
like that.
sort
all
of
that
squeeze
stuff
a little
cool.
bit to get in. I like all that stuff. It's really
Yeah,
cute.
that's the little flare on it was really nice.
Yes, it is a very beautiful looking game. I really enjoyed it. Okay, right, Tim. I believe you can pick another one.
Well, yeah, I mean, I played less than you guys, but yeah, let's go with one that I meant to play at WASD and didn't actually get to, but they had here as well, which was a game called Make Way that myself and Coleman had a quick go at.
Yes.
And yeah, this was a kind of like Micro Machines-esque game, but where you, and in the mode we played at least, where you rapidly build the track ahead of you, basically. Everyone gets a component that they can pick to add to the layout of the track, and you kind of just mash them all together. And we were playing in a mode called Chaos, and I don't know how that differs from the rest of them. We had to choose that because of Coleman, obviously. But
Chaos.
But yeah, it was a chaotic thing. Like everyone, like basically anyone that isn't familiar with Micro Machines, the format is like there's four of us were racing on the screen, and you can kind of bump each other off the track, and anyone that races ahead leaves the other cars behind to the point where there's like one player left standing, or you all make it round a complete lap, and it goes again basically. And then at the end of the round, it gives you like points for how many laps you've completed and how many circuits you got through. In this, I don't know if it was unique to this chaos mode, but one of the things it did in this chaos mode was at the end of each kind of set of laps, you then add more bits to the track, and it kind of mixes up how the track goes and has like crazy components you can put in, like a whole like tumbling rotational thing that everyone has to drive across, and like a motorway that everyone has to traverse, like traffic getting in the way, and loop the loops and all sorts of other bits and bobs that you could kind of add to things. And that seemed chaotic but fun, like a good silly little party game. I haven't really seen anyone making the Micro Machines style formula games of recent years. There was a few games a few years ago that kind of borrowed those sort of mechanics.
Well, there was a Micro Machines game.
Yeah,
well, yes, obviously.
This was all microtransactions, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. But there has been a few others.
Rightly, I think I overheard, because we had two strangers come play with us, and which in hindsight, when we were like, we're going to play the chaos mode, and it says on the screen, probably not one you want to play if you're a brand new beginner.
Right, yeah.
And then we just ended up bumping each other off the track
in
constantly
at the deep
at the
end.
start. So, in hindsight, probably not a good idea. However, I believe one of them said to the guy showing the game off, they went, "Oh, like Micro Machines." He goes, "Oh, exactly like Micro Machines. In fact, the guy, one of the main creators, is one of the guys that used to work on the original Micro Machines."
Okay, that makes sense.
I meant to check that out before we were recording, but I overheard someone say that.
Right,
so
okay,
I have no idea how
Then it must be true.
But it had like
no one lies at expos.
No, absolutely.
But it had fun little cars, like little Viking longships, and very like UFOs and various other silly little vehicles and stuff. And I thought that was quite well done and quite interesting and quite fun. Good little party game, bit different to stuff that's around at the moment. And I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one for couch co-op as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, Rick, what do you want to pick, buddy?
I have to talk about Persona 3 Reload, don't I?
Oh,
Gonna be that one.
The one that had the biggest queue of the show, I believe.
Yeah. Well, we were in there for a while. So Persona 3 Reload is a remake of the PlayStation 2 classic Persona 3. And
Sacre
it's
bleu.
the second time it's been remade, kind of the third time it's been remade. So this is kind of taking the aesthetic of Persona 5. And it's basically Persona 3 if Persona 3 was Persona 5. And that
Right.
works great for me. The trailers and stuff make it look cool, but seeing it live and in person, it looks so much better than the trailers make it look. Just the detail and the characters and stuff are great. All the little additions that Persona 5 had that improved, like all the little quality of life things. So Persona's combat is kind of the best way to describe it is Pokemon for edgelords. So instead of getting your little pocket monsters, you get a party of like demons, basically, and well, personas. And each one has strengths and weaknesses. Each enemy, shadow that you fight, has an element or something that it's strong or weak against. So you've got to choose strategically which personas you're going to use. It hit for massive damage, basically. If you can hit everything with its weakness, it'll drop to the floor, and then you can do an all-out attack, which everyone just rushes on it and beats the crap out of it, basically. And something that Persona 5 did was once you've figured out what an enemy's weakness is, you can tap R1 when it's your go for assist, and it'll just automatically go to that weakness and like find your persona that's got fire against something that's fire. So instead of like hitting analyze again, oh, this is weak to fire, let me find which persona's got fire, because you're going to do it anyway. Just tap a button and it takes you straight there. Like, you still got to figure it out for yourself, but once you figured it out, it just skips needless steps, which is really nice that that's there. What else? It's got the dash now, so you can sprint around Tartarus. So the main dungeon of Persona 3 is a thing called Tartarus. It's like 250 floors, and each floor is randomly generated. So it's all like the same assets and stuff, but it all change every time you go in. It's different, which I think a lot of people coming from so if people have already played 3, they know exactly what they're getting into. But if people have played 5, which had really, really intricate dungeons called palaces, they were just all like bespoke. They were amazing. I think people are going to be disappointed because everything in this is randomly generated, and it feels a bit emptier, like a bit more barren than 5's palaces, because it's not, because it's just been generated as you're there, basically. And I think that's going to be an issue for a lot of people. But yeah, it takes one of the best games on the PlayStation 2 and it turns it into one of the best RPGs of the last, I don't know, 10 years, I'd say, for Persona 5. So I'm super excited for this. It's like when playing 5, when that first came out, I'd sit there and be like, oh, imagine if they remade 3 like this. Imagine if they remade 4 like this. And now they've done it. So yeah, all in. It's just a really cool RPG with really good mechanics. It looks great. The music's incredible. And I'm very excited to make Chris sit and watch me play it for 3 months.
Yeah, I played it too. It's kind of I kind of likened it to that style of RPG that I used to like playing on the Vita, but not one that I don't think I have the patience to sit at home and play it on a big screen. However, I will say there is part of that, and I'm going to introduce you to this, Tim, because I'm not sure. I remember you played Persona 4 Golden on the Vita, but let me introduce you to a mechanic that's pretty damn cool about this game. So, you know, like Pokemon, they've got Pokemon in Pokeballs, and to initiate the fight, they throw a ball, and then the Pokemon comes out the ball. In this, you've got the Personas, which are their little demon Pokemon friends, and to summon the Persona, they pull out a gun and shoot themselves in the head.
Okay.
And don't die, but the demon comes out. It's so weird, but I liked it.
It's not actually a gun. It's called an evoker.
Gun.
It's called an evoker. It's an instrument used for summoning your persona from within yourself. It just looks like a gun.
It's literally a revolver.
It's
And the
wild
voice-
because like I think we were about to say the same thing. Like
Yeah.
the main character stands there looking badass, just pulls it out. He's like, this is nothing. And like the girl puts her thumbs in it, and she's like, points at her face. Yeah. You know the meme of the kid on the beach with the gun crying? Or have I just
No.
seen some different memes? I'll show you. It's
Possibly.
great.
You've seen some darker memes than us, my friend.
Yeah.
Rick's a dark web meme boy.
But yeah, I'm super excited for this.
All right, well, I'm not ready to get off this Sega train just yet, so I would like to pull up Like a Dragon Gaiden, which I believe the subtitle is The Man Who Took Away His Name and Gave It to a Dog, or something along that. No, it's The Man Who Erased His Name. And I kind of float in and out with the Yakuza series. I have done over the years. I keep trying to get into them. I've tried the spin-off, and I tried Zero, and I've tried 1 before, and I'm trying Zero again at the moment, which I'm kind of getting back into. But this one, it's interesting that it's another side spin-off of Yakuza, I think. It's got more of a... So you're playing as an ex-Yakuza who has become like a secret agent, and you're summoned to this oil rig to investigate all the nefarious goings on and enter a fighting competition. That's where we come in. But it's that Yakuza fighting, but against like a big wave of characters. That's the demo we had. But you had all these gadgets, which I know Rick wasn't a fan of, but I really liked. You could summon drones to help you fight, much like the Spider-Man games, or you could just
Use
chuck
webbing.
a bomb. That was cool. And yeah, it basically had webbing because you had this weird grapple shot where you can rope up about 4 or 5 people and swing them around. So I enjoyed that stuff.
It's just Yakuza Spider-Man thinking about it.
Yeah, so I was going to say it's less like a dragon, more like a Spider-Man.
Like a spider.
Like a Spider-Man. But because we brought Ed over on the Saturday, and he's a massive Yakuza Like a Dragon fan. He can talk to you about it for literal days at a time. And as we walked past, he just pointed at the trailer and goes, "There's my potential game of the year." And that's coming out on the 8th of November. He seems very excited, and I'd actually quite like to try this, but I have some games before it that I need to play, apparently. So I'm back on the... After playing that kind of rekindled my interest, so I went back home and installed Zero on my Steam Deck, and then I've been playing it in the queues and on the tube and stuff.
Well, I think you'd be all right playing this because it's not connected to anything. It's just a alternate universe story. So I think you'd be able to play it without needing to know any of the story.
I think that was my thought with the previous game as well, because it's so far previous to the other games. But I didn't enjoy the setting after so much time. So I can't really connect to this as much as I would say the actual Yakuza games, which I enjoyed more, though I just didn't stick with because they're so long.
I think Yakuza 8 would be a bit weird if you've not played any of them.
Yeah, probably. Going back to one that we've all played, Tim at a previous event, us at EGX, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, which is we won't speak too much about it because Tim's already gone into a bit of detail during the WASD episode, and I'm assuming it's the same demo, Tim?
Yeah, from what I saw, yeah.
Yes, and this is the 2.5D action side-scrolling brawler, platformer, puzzler, mixed all together in the Prince of Persia style. Little bit like faster-paced Metroid Dread, I'd say. Not as hard as Metroid Dread, but along that kind of vein. I quite enjoyed this. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to after getting my hands on it, and I'd be interested to play more of this than initially I thought I'd be. I thought it was quite nice and fast-paced. I didn't enjoy that they made me play with Joy-Cons, but other than that, I liked the powers, I liked the style, I liked the running around and trying to kind of trying to do that thing of being like doing the fluid jumps and timing everything correctly and mixing your powers and stuff with it and then attack someone and roll under them and all that. I enjoyed all that stuff. I don't know how you guys felt.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I enjoyed it so much, it's made me reconsider my anti-Ubisoft selectivism. Because I actually really kind of want to buy this one. I thought the combat felt great. The parry system was really nice when I got the hang of it. The Prince himself controls really well, just really tight jumps, really good in air control. I really enjoyed the bits that turned into Super Meat Boy, where there was just spikes and just traps and stuff
Whirly
everywhere that you had
things.
to try and wall jump around. So there was a
Yeah.
nice mix of like precision gameplay and combat. I'd really like to go in from the beginning and sort of take my time with it, explore a lot, see the world for what it is. Because a demo like that, you can only do so much. Like we had things to equip, like medallions or something. I don't know what any of them do. I don't know what the
Yeah.
relevance is. I don't think
They did seem
he
to
had that
change the gameplay
power.
up quite a lot from what I saw with the medallions and stuff,
Right.
basically.
But like he has that power where you hold down your parry button and he does the big flashy. I thought that was crap. I wasn't really into that. It felt kind of unfinished. It breaks up the gameplay too much by having him scream and then the camera like zooms into his face and then the camera kind of went wonky after that for a second. I don't think that's been implemented very well. And if it is, it's something that should really only be like pulled out occasionally. But the fact that it's on your parry button means it's very easy to hit by accident, which I didn't like. But that's the one thing that I had an issue with. I thought everything else, it was really tight.
Yeah, just so you know, I was told that demo was particularly crafted for being a demo. It was not actually part of the final game, basically.
Right.
So I don't know how different it will be when it comes around to it, but
It'll just be Prince of Persia, the Xbox 360 reboot starring Nolan North.
okay.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Do we have time for one more round? One more game each?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. All right, Tim, do you want to pick another game?
Well, I was just going to say there was a selection of things that I played that you guys didn't, but they were mostly all VR. I'm going to try and save them for an episode of VRB. But just to say, they had Blitz Rhythm, which was the thing I played on Pico 4. First time I played on a Pico. It's quite a nice light headset, so I thought I'd just cover that. I did also play Tin Hearts VR, which is the free VR mode that's coming sometime this winter to Tin Hearts, which has already come out on consoles and PC and stuff. That seemed to work really well in VR and it was really good. And I also played a little thing called Tea is Served, which was a little kind of story-based thing, which was, really interesting. But I'll come back to all of those on VRB, but I just thought I'd mention them on this show just to say that I had played those. I'll talk more about them on a VRB with Kev at some point, basically.
Okay. Was there one specifically you wanted to talk about?
The other one I could talk about is one that you and I played, Mr. Coleman, which was Resistor.
Resistor. Oh, we all played that.
We all played it.
I wasn't
I
sure
broke
that you
it.
played as well. Well, that's your fault. But yeah, I thought this was
it's my fault.
a kind of fun. It's definitely early and it could do with a bit of work, but it's a kind of fun. They described it as an open world RPG driving game for people that didn't like driving games. I don't quite understand why you would make a driving game for people that don't like the game that you're making them for. But
And
But-
1 second, where it's a car-based RPG, what should they have called it, Rick?
I don't know.
Car PG.
RPG.
A car PG.
That's how it works.
They've lost points for not calling it that. Rick's acting offended, despite having come up with that joke at the show.
But yeah, like I did like the art style in this as well. It's a kind of cell shaded look to it, and yeah, that kind of popped quite nicely. You then got like it's a racing game, but it's got a bit of car combat in it as well. Basically, you can press either of the bumpers to rotate your car round in one direction, and that will knock any of your opponents off course and sort of knock them out of the race. And yeah, like it seemed like it needed a little bit of work, but I like the basic idea of what they're going for. Vehicular combat and stunt racing is quite a nice mix, but I do think they could do with locking that down. As I said, it seemed early days, but it was one worth keeping an eye on to see how that progresses. I kind of like some of the stuff they had in there. I like the graphical style. I'd like to see how that all comes together eventually, basically.
Yeah, I believe the guy showing off the game said that this is the first public demo of the game. So that's why he said, if there's any problems, please let us know, because we're still very much testing.
I might have
Um,
neglected to tell them how it broke.
I like the premise. Of course, it still needs a lot of work. The car combat is a nice idea. I liked as well as the spinning around attack. You could just flip your car from one side to the other. That was quite funny. And I tried to use it, but I just sort of flipped over cars next to me, which admittedly looked cool, but that wasn't what I was trying to do. And then when I watched the trailer, I saw you can flip and land on top of someone's car. So
Right, yeah.
that's a cool thing. The other aspect of this is something we didn't see. It's the story base parts of it, but it's meant to be more of a kind of wander around in a Telltale style and use dialogue options with other characters and things. At the end of the demo, it kind of brings you to an area where it looks like it's setting that up, but then the demo stopped, so we didn't get to try any of that. But I like the idea. We'll keep an eye on it and see how that goes in the future.
Yeah, it's a nice idea. Just it needs a lot of work. Like I thought the world was quite barren. Once
I mean, it
you've-
was a post-apocalyptic world, so that's
yeah,
it's a bit
but
Mad
there
Maxy.
needed to be
Yeah.
more enemies to hit, more variety. Like the combat was as in depth as the motorbike mini game in Final Fantasy VII. It was just spin, and that's what bothered me as well. You'd spin out and hit something, and then you'd have that slow motion animation of like, yeah, I get it, I've hit it. Can I keep going? This game feels like it's meant to be about momentum, but every time you take something out, you kill the momentum to show how flashy it looks. Just let me hit it and spin it out. I want to keep going. I think there needs to be more jumps, more stuff that you can do when you jump. But I always feel really bad talking about indie games because it's made by a very small team of people. They're trying the best. They're actually doing really good for what they've achieved is really good, especially for such a small studio. But when you're putting something out into the public like that, I do think there should have been. I hope that in the finished product there's a lot more to it, because as it is, I just think it's going to get very boring very quickly.
All right, you want to pick a game there, Rick?
It's going to have to be Persona 5. Yeah, Chris and I played Persona 5 Tactica, which is XCOM for babies.
Mm-hmm.
It's Mario plus
think-
Rabbids,
But
Yeah.
Persona.
I like the art style. I think it's kind of cute. I think it's very good. The
I don't.
demo
but hey.
was very handholdy and focused on explaining mechanics, so you don't really get a feel for. Well, I personally didn't really get a feel for how the game is supposed to play, because there was a lot of move here and then you move this character here and move this character, but you had to move to where it wanted you to, so it
Right.
could show you how to do an attack that I'd already forgotten how to do when I'd finished it. And then trying to work stuff out. It didn't help that the cheat sheet that they give you explaining the controls was blurry.
It's so
I
low res.
couldn't read it. Actually couldn't read it. So I was winging it, trying to figure it out. But it's one that I think I will get, even though it's not my usual style of gameplay. It kind of reminded me of Valkyria Chronicles, if you
Okay.
played that at all.
Yes.
So quite Valkyria Chronicles-ish, just isometric instead of third person. Yeah, it definitely had, like, it felt like Persona 5. It had that atmosphere, which I thought was good, because a lot of the time when you have a spin-off game, it's just kind of a different game in a mask, and you can tell, like, the soul of it isn't there. But this very much felt like it has the soul of Persona 5. Like, it's continuing the story as well. So I think it's got potential. It looks like once you level up your Persona, once you've got a stronger team and you can start doing flashier stuff and actually have a grasp of the mechanics, you'll really be able to get some cool stuff out of it. So it's one that I wouldn't normally go for. And although the demo didn't wow me because of how kind of restrictive it was, it is something that I do think I'm going to pick up, because the taste it gave me was kind of enough.
And you
Might
have a
not
problem.
be. Yeah,
don't
might
have
not
a
be
problem.
something that you can get a good taste of in the demo. But did it have anything in the same terms of Valkyria Chronicles where there was like sort of relationships between characters and possible synergies that come from that, or anything like that? Or no,
Like,
I'm
you
guessing
can
you
do-
didn't get to see that in the demo.
One of the things that can see in the trailer is it shows you if you stand like 3 points of a triangle, like surround an enemy, then all three of you can do an attack at the same time against it. And if there's more stuff like that that's kind of explained better as the game goes on, instead of kind of like throwing it at you in a demo, then stuff like that would work. But with it being a Persona game, there's a lot of weakness exploitation, all-out attacks, stuff like that. So if they bring those mechanics into it, there's a lot of potential for some like really interesting stuff that you can do in battle.
Okay.
At least that's what I'm hoping for. What did you think, Chris? You played it twice.
I did, partly because I wanted to get the pins. They were giving away pins when you play Persona, which I think is part of the reason why there were such long queues, because I've seen a lot of pins suddenly appear on eBay, as usually happens with whatever the wanted item is of each EGX. But the I liked it because I'm not a big strategy game person. I'm not a big that style of game. I didn't really get on with Valkyria Chronicles and of the like, but I really, really enjoyed Mario plus Rabbids. So once I started playing this and you said XCOM for babies, I went, "Oh, lovely." I went, "Yay, it's more of what I like." And I played it the first time and we got like a 15-minute demo. And then on the second day, because the queues were getting longer, they were just cutting people down to 10 minutes and not letting them finish the demo. So I kind of just tried to speed run it to see how far I can get in. I got quite far in. They started introducing new characters and stuff that I didn't see the first time around. So that was fun. Which one of the people actually came over and they, "Are you trying to speed run the demo?" And yep, give me my pin. Shut up, give me my pin. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm not a Persona fan. All this stuff is very new to me, but I quite liked that. And I do like this, except for the thing where they went, "Here's Persona 5," and then they went, "But if you want the real story, here's Persona 5 Royale with cheese."
Royale cheese.
Which you can pay the same price
Persona 5
and you can't pick up from where you were and you have to start all over again. I don't like that aspect of it, but I do like when they go, "If you want to continue the story, here's a completely different genre of game. Here's a Musu fighter and now here's a strategy game." So I like that idea. It kind of forces you to expand your horizons in gaming if you want to carry on with the story. I like that. And I did enjoy this. And it's got a talking cat. Who doesn't like a talking cat, Rick?
Me, hate Morgana.
All right, well, if you're picking Persona again, it's only right that I pick Like a Dragon again with Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which...
Look at this. Rick and Chris, Sega boys. Here we go.
I enjoyed that way more than I thought I was going to enjoy that. Like a Dragon, if you don't know... Well, originally Like a Dragon is the name of Yakuza in Japan, and now we've kind of renamed the series for parody of that. But the first Like a Dragon game in the Western world was taking place in the Yakuza world, but done in a sort of turn-based RPG style, kind of underlined by the main character being a bit weird and wacky and loves Dragon Age. Is it Dragon Age?
Dragon Quest.
No, Dragon Quest, sorry. I always mix those two up. So he kind of sees the world as his party, his team, and they've all got specialist powers and things, and they have turn-based combat and that reflect their powers. Kind of highlighted in the way in the demo that we were playing that there was a cabbie who had they all have limit break type powers, and the cabbie pulls up his cab, puts the bad guy in the back, and then does a bunch of crazy stunts and then crashes the cab to cause a load of damage. Or one of the other characters who just started dancing with one of the enemies that you're fighting against and using them as a weapon to attack all the other enemies before then attacking them, but all done to a dance number, which I really enjoyed. So it's that kind of... Because Yakuza's always been a bit weird and wacky in a lot of aspects, be that dressing up or the side stories or the characters you meet along the way. This is if they just lean into the wackiness all the way, and I quite like that. So I think if I don't get along with Yakuza and carry on with the series, I might just jump straight to Like a Dragon, which was the whole reason of me wanting to play the Yakuza series to get up to that point. But I just might just jump in there and see how we go, because I really enjoyed that.
I think a lot of people did, to be honest.
Yes,
So
I
haven't played Like a Dragon. So Like a Dragon is actually Yakuza 7. It does continue the story, and that's There was a character in this demo whose story I thought finished with Yakuza 6. So I was very, not so much confused, but like, oh, okay. It is a proper continuation. And what I thought was cool as well is that this character, if you use one of his special moves, it changes his fighting style to something more akin to the original Yakuza games, which was a really nice touch. It's kind of, yeah, I'm trying not to say too much because I've not played through 7, so I don't know if that's a spoiler for, the game that comes before this. But I thought it was really quite interesting, but it's one that I do want to get my hands on a bit more and get a bit more familiar with the mechanics, because knowing the Yakuza games how I do, it was very strange to like approach a group of thugs and not just start hitting them.
Yeah.
It was turn-based, and the turn-based kind of felt weird because you're free to move around in a little circle and like reposition yourself, but then you can target stuff and hit things out of your circle. And that took me a second to kind of get my head around. I was like, oh, wait, can I only hit people within my circle? Can I hit people out of it? There was like the special moves were fun. It is definitely something that I think, starting from the beginning, you get more out of it. And, once you get to learn, oh, there's the guy who was on about. Yeah, so they're not trying to hide
Never
it.
reference
Okay.
the video.
Yeah. It's just going to make people want to go to YouTube and watch the video of it, which you absolutely should do. So I said to you when we came out, and I had the same issue with the other Yakuza demo, which was the problem with these kind of games is that they're so story heavy and there's so many mechanics and things that you have to get used to along the way that you don't really pick up until like 10 or so hours in, when finally you go, oh, I get it now. It's really difficult to actually get a proper vertical slice of what the game's like just from a demo, because it tries to give you as much as it can, and it's kind of a bit overwhelming in that there's so much going on at once and you don't really have a grasp of the mechanics. So yeah, there could be people coming away from this going, it's not really for me, I couldn't really do this and I didn't really like this. But if they had more time with it, then it would click and they'd actually see what a fantastic series it is and what a good game it could be.
I did like your rideable mount, your chocobo, if you will, in this game is segways. And when you summon yours, like everyone, or suddenly all your party behind you are riding on segways. That was cute. And also, I believe the bulk of this game takes place in Honolulu, in Hawaii, which is a very big departure from the Yakuza series. So I liked that as well.
Did you do the mini game where you were delivering food like a Deliveroo bike rider?
No, I went straight for the main story.
There's a crazy taxi style mini game, but you're a Deliveroo driver.
Okay, I want to do that. Yeah, I want to play this. I think we ran out of games that we all three played at the same time. So I'd say for the last one, let's pick one that you two played together. I believe it was called Damage Control.
Oh, I can lump this in with Chaos Kart at the same time. I think we can speak about both of these games at the same time. I'll be a slightly bit kinder to Damage Control than I necessarily would be, because this was one of the student games.
Yeah.
And so I'll be slightly more forgiving. But it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of wanted to ask, why have you made this game? And why did you think it was a good idea to pay to show it to the public?
Well, the student ones, I don't think that's part of like a grant type thing. I don't think they're paying to come and show it off.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, that makes, I said I was going to be kinder, and then I was possibly a bit too cruel. But at the same time, it felt like this is a kind of a co-op game that's made for showing off co-op, but it didn't seem to be a very well fleshed out idea before they started making it, almost kind of thing. It seemed strange. I don't understand why this game exists, basically. I mean, like,
why does any game exist?
Well, yeah,
if you want to wax philosophical about it.
But in terms of, like, it's a couch co-op game and you're doing stuff, and one of you has certain powers and another you have other powers, and there didn't seem much rhyme or reason
Tale as old as time.
to why one of you had particular powers and one of you had others, other than you both need each other to get through the level, basically. And there didn't seem much to it. That I don't know how it's going to play as a single player game. I don't know how it would work as a single player game. I guess you could change between characters.
Pretty sure it's co-op only.
Yeah, but then almost like right. There didn't seem to be a strong reason to be a co-op game, and there didn't seem any reason to be a single player game. Like it didn't. Yeah, it seemed like a bad idea, and not made terribly, but just. It seemed like the idea in itself needed to be better to start with, basically.
No, I'm going to disagree with that because I think the idea is great. It's definitely inspired by games like Overcooked and Catastronauts, Moving Out, that kind of couch co-op, kind of physics-ish, just chaos ensues fun game. But
Chaos.
Instead of being like in a set arena and just moving stuff around, I do like the idea that you've got your heavy, so you can break things and rebuild houses with your hammer. Then you've got your little magician thing, which can make plants grow and put fires out. I think there's the seed of a really good idea, but I think it hasn't been as fleshed out as it could be. And I think with a few more years experience under the belt, like the fact that this is a student game or that these kids have just come out of uni is crazy. Like they are far more talented than I couldn't even get this up in like Flash or something. I have no idea what I'm doing. So the fact that a bunch of kids essentially have made this, and I can say that as I've got nearly 40 children made this game. All right,
kids today.
That's fantastic. Like that's super impressive. But I do think with a few more years experience under their belts, when they really know game design, when they know, how to craft a level, how to make something, because I went through it again today with Elena, and one of the big problems I had was there was considerably more to do if you were the little magician rabbit.
Right, okay, and that might be my problem because I wasn't. Yeah,
I was playing as the ball guy today who hit rocks and built houses. And for a lot of it, I was just wandering around, waiting for Elena to make plants grow and stuff. And I imagine it was much the same when we were playing on the Friday, because I was playing as the wizard then. I was enjoying it enough. I was just making things grow and putting out fires, and you were kind of like trudging around.
Yeah.
So there isn't, like, the balance is off as far as things that both players can do, which is a shame. So that's something that I think needs a lot more work. And like they are. It's a nice idea. It just needs fleshing out.
Okay. But I mean, as I said, perhaps I'm being a bit harsh, but I just didn't think it was the nice idea that you think it is.
For
I think
shame.
If you worked on this for another 10 years, I don't think you necessarily perfect, like you'd come out with a good product that was fun to play for both players, basically.
I don't know, because part of the reason that Rick went and played it again was so we could have some footage to show off, because if you look online, the only trailer for this game is way before a lot of the textures are in. Yeah, it's proof of concept, and one character is a disc and one is a ball. So they've made a lot of progress since that point. So it's quite impressive to see, though. You mentioned Chaos Kart briefly. Do you want to chuck that in a bit? I can't believe this is the one we're going to finish on.
I think that's the last thing I played as well.
This is definitely why are you paying money to show this to the public? This is not worthy of their time or attention, and it is not going to help your case for making interest in this game, basically.
Tim really hates indie devs.
I think I'm the bigger fan of kart racing out of the three of us. I like to support indie devs.
No, Rick's the best. Rick's the favorite. He loves Mario Kart.
I'm incredible at Diddy Kong.
The Mario Kart racing.
Diddy Kong has a race,
Zero X.
But again,
I want a Persona Kart game.
This seemed just a bit early to be showing to the public, basically.
I think the way it was kind of pitched to us is, hey, kart races, hey, you know hero shooters? Well, I've made a mixture of those too. Like, well, isn't that just a kart? Because all my characters are individual types with different special abilities and moves and stuff. Like, well, there's a lot of kart racers that already do that, I think. And I watched a few of the dev diaries to try, and the footage, if you're watching the video right now, it's kind of pieced together from different dev diaries. There's no definitive
reference
trailer out there. Yeah, what you're seeing right now kind of thing. But yeah, what ended up was this very bare bones, didn't quite control very well. A lot of textures were missing, so you couldn't really tell what was going on. For me and Tim, that had the poor unfortunate had to pay on both of the left side of the screen. A bunch of debug text just took up the whole of that side of the screen, and we couldn't actually see what we were doing. There was a point where,
and I still lost.
There was a bunch of white circles that appeared in front of me, and I went, a power-up, and then drove into them, and they blew up, and I went, no, it's a bomb without any textures. I didn't know what was happening. So, it's very, very bare bones, but
it's like barely pre-alpha.
Yeah, they've got some they've got some ambition to, sorry, I have to go on the video then. They've got some ambition to what they're doing. They have a vision of what they're doing. I watched some of the dev diaries today in the background while I was doing some work, and I commend what he's trying to do. It's just I don't know why you take it to a public show unless you're hoping to attract like some kind of publisher, maybe. But I wasn't sure because they don't have a publisher at the moment. But otherwise, you're Joe Public, walk up, go, oh, I like a kart racer. Let me try this game. And the presentation of the booth was great. And then you sit down and play the game and go, I don't enjoy this. So you then taken away with a bad taste. And then someone goes, hey, years down the line, someone goes, hey, do you want to play Chaos Kart or Crazy Kart? I've completely forgotten the name of it already. And they go, no, I played that at an expo once and it was terrible. I don't know why you take it to a public show unless you're trying to get a publisher on the sly on some kind. But yeah, and the other problem as well was the SEO, because they're in the UK. There is a very popular go-karting business called Chaos Karts, which made it very hard to find this game specifically.
You want to talk bad SEO? I was trying to find stuff for damage control.
And you got the WWE tag team group starring Bailey.
And the Marvel comic.
Yes. Wasn't there a damage control on Dreamcast or PS2?
God, no, but there's more damage control games. There's a damage control board game that Tim should know. Like, looking for damage control game.
Not an encyclopedia of board games.
You are. You're like me and Persona. Tim
or me and wrestling.
Tim and Yakuza, Ed and Yakuza. Like, that's it. You are the board game boy. That's what you know.
Just because we don't want to finish on a sour note, do you guys want to talk about Sonic Superstars very quickly? I know we'll probably come back to that.
Okay.
We're more, so.
Not too much, because like the day this show comes out, we will have Sonic Superstars in our possession, and I'll probably be talking about it in more depth in the shows to come. If you don't know, Sonic Superstars, much like Mario, it's a return to an old 2D formula where they have kind of remixed it, added in some co-op. I believe there's co-op. I know there's multiple characters.
Yeah, there's 4-player.
I've been thinking about this more and more. I haven't actually seen any 4-player at the show in the demos and stuff. So I was like, is it multiplayer or am I just picking different characters? But it's kind of like where Sonic Mania was using the old style and remixing levels and to make new content. This is a solely new game done in the older style with the newer look and everything, and it played incredibly well. I really, really enjoyed it. Whereas I liked Mario for the style, I like Sonic for the gameplay, because it just felt more challenging, more like I'm going to stick with it, whereas Mario felt like it's probably just because it's opening levels, but Mario felt a lot more casual to me.
Yeah, this to me plays how I remember the old Sonic games playing. It, like, the weight of the character felt great, the speed, the momentum. I love the verticality of the levels. yeah, like that's the meme, innit? But I prefer Sonic when you slow down and explore, because especially in Sonic 3, those levels are so good when you like go off the beaten track and actually explore, and it had an element of that to it. The boss was fun. I can't remember. It was like a multi-thingy boss. It was fun.
Yeah, Eggman.
Like a lot of stuff's gone into it. There's about 100 bonus levels per stage.
Oh yeah,
That was crazy. I didn't like the bonus stage where you just got a kind of Spider-Man swing at an emerald and then you
I
get
liked
it.
that. Yeah,
It felt, for me, like the best bonus stage is Sonic Mania, and that has set the bar so high where you got to chase the UFO. Now it's just just swing it
The one
in and you'll get it eventually.
Similar to CD, I think. Was it CD or R? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, I enjoyed that. I liked it was a mixture of bonus stages as well, which they've done in previous games before. You've got that kind of rotating bonus stage from Sonic 1. You've got you got the whole thing. Oh yeah, the swinging one, like you said. But they do this thing of, okay, so you find the big ring, bonus stage. You find a weird translucent orb, bonus stage. You get enough rings and you hit the checkpoint and then the stars appear in the sky, bonus stage. It's just kind of taking all the ways we found bonus stages in previous games and just went, we're going to stick all of these in one game. And I liked that. So I'm looking forward to playing. It's the only thing that I played at the show that made me just, while I was queuing for the next game, go, right, I'm buying this, and just bought it there and there on my phone.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done, Sega.
Looking forward to it. Well done, Sega. Good. It's a weird world we're living in where Sega is back to having all the best games at a show.
Yeah.
I'm not used to this weird and wacky world.
I'll
All
get
right.
used to it.
I think that will do for EGX today. That is a lot of stuff we have gone through today. Before we go, I will like to say, go over to tpublic.com/store/BRB. And speaking of Sonic, we've got a cool Sonic the Hedgehog t-shirt on there that you can pick up. Get it in blue. It works. Blue Sonic character on blue t-shirt. It looks really cool. I like it. That's tpublic.com/stores/BRB. Go over there, buy some merch, give some proceeds to our talented artists. And Tim, we've got a Tabletop Tuesday on that there Tuesday, which this week will be on the 17th of October over at the Loading Bar in Stoke, Newington.
Indeed, we will. Due to being out at EGX, I still haven't actually got the post up for this. We'll hopefully have corrected that by the time this podcast comes out. But we actually have a Magic the Gathering special this week. We're doing an introductory thing for Magic the Gathering. If you'd like to get introduced to Magic the Gathering and taught Magic the Gathering, this is a good way to approach it. So we'll be having stuff there. Also, anyone doesn't know, Loading Bar does actually sell Magic the Gathering stuff there as well. And for more experienced users, the Doctor Who packs just came out and stuff like that. So the expansions that just came out. So that will be on sale in the bar as well. But yeah, come along, play some Magic, get introduced to Magic, get taught how to play Magic, and then you can join in the other competitions and stuff they do there at Loading throughout the weeks and months ahead when they do more stuff for Magic the Gathering. It's a good way to get introed. And you can possibly win a starter set just by coming along and trying it out on the evening. If you want some more details, check the top left-hand corner of BigRedBarrel.com. Join the over 2,000 people in our meetup group. Search for Tabletop Tuesday on meetup.com, or just come along to the Loading Bar in Stoke, Newington from about 7:30 on Tuesday.
Excellent. That is Tabletop Tuesday at the Loading Bar in Stoke, Newington for a Magic the Gathering night. They're worth a pretty penny, those Magic the Gathering cards, I hear.
Can be.
Yeah? It's an investment. It's an investment if you think about it. Yes, you've heard of woman maths. That's been doing the rounds lately. This is man maths. This is tabletop
Magic maths.
Magic maths. I like that too. If you have enjoyed this show, then you got weird taste, but we'd love it if you could show your appreciation by leaving us a review on the podcast reviewing platform of your choice. Also, you can get in contact with the show on BigRedBarrel.com. There we have a comment section. We have a link to our Discord. We have a Facebook, an X, a Threads at Big Red Barrel, and we also have a YouTube, Big Red Barrel TV. Over there, you can leave us comments and questions and say whatever you want to us, and we will probably read it and talk about it on the show. But not this week, because we've gone over, and maybe not everyone wants to know about EGX this week, so we won't be answering the questions today. Still unsure whether we're doing a show as regular on Thursday just yet. Me and Tim have to have a chat behind the scenes. But if not, normal service will resume the following week. Also, if we do one this Thursday, no Dan again, because it's his birthday and he's off.
Hey.
So happy birthday to Dan. Everyone go say happy birthday to Dan.
Hey, happy
Captain
birthday,
Average
Dan.
on X, or you could just go wind him up on Discord. He does like Discord. That is a good way of getting in contact with him. Just put a Discord link on the video there. Don't reference the video, Coleman. Anyway, we are going to wrap up now, and this has been a fairly productive show. We got through a fair whack of our EGX content. I'm quite happy that we've done that. Usually we end up rolling a bunch of stuff over to to following shows. So well done, guys. You should pat yourselves on the back and feel all warm and fuzzy inside for what we have achieved today. Excellent. So, for this episode 563 of BRB UK, I would like to say that I have been Coleman.
I might have been Tim.
And I have been a guest.
And I have been Chaos. Aha! 2 outros. How chaotic of me.
Oh, that's so Coleman.
Yes. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Just subscribe if you're not on whatever podcasting platform. Don't forget to review. Don't forget to comment. All that kind of stuff. Thank you guys for watching and for listening. And until next time, dear listeners and viewers, a goodbye.
You and your ears are quite welcome.
For the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
To BigRedBarrel.com.
for more podcasts?
News, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet. BigRedBarrel.com.
I like to think, I mean, if it's early enough in the day and Tim's awake enough, I do think Tim could probably beat the hell out of me if he wanted to. He's got a dark streak here. He's got a look in that eye. He's done some stuff.
He's like a off little terrier, isn't he?